If you struggle with hip stiffness and tightness, it's hard just to even cross your leg and it's up like this, you can't even get it down. In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what you can do to fix this. What's up guys, Dr. Nick here to go over improving your hip flexibility, specifically for crossing your legs. So when we go into a cross-legged position, our leg is going into hip external rotation and trying to fall out to the side, going into abduction or abduction. So hip external rotation and abduction. Now, if the leg is stuck and it can't go down, we have to think of other structures around this area that can limit this. We can look at the back of the hip capsule that can limit this because the hip won't glide backwards. But let's try to focus on all the stuff that's on the inner thigh and the hip flexor area that would limit this. So if we're here like this, sure, we could have our adductor muscles that won't let us collapse down, but then also we gotta remember, when we're going into this position, in a hip external rotated position, and we're trying to fall out into abduction and more hip extension, really, because it's going from a hip flex position and dropping down into hip extension. So what muscles and areas limit hip extension? The hip flexor areas. So if those are super stiff and tight, it can limit this motion of going down. So let's work on this area to address this. Let's go over 3 exercises, no equipment needed. Let's get started. So the first exercise we want to start with is simply getting the leg in a position of restriction and then building isometrics in that range of motion and getting input into the system. So if we cross our leg like this and our leg is up like this and we can't fall it down, that's okay. Wherever your starting point is, it doesn't really matter. It's the concepts that you're going to use to get it further down. So if you're here like this, you might feel really stiff and you can't go further down. It's fine. You also might need to lean backwards to come off of the motion a little bit to get further into it. But if you could stay up like this, great. So the idea is you want to get into the inside of the knee and you want to push your leg down further into hip extension, because right now it's in hip flexion. We want to try to get it down, moving into hip extension. So the idea is we're just going to push it down until we feel a nice stretching area going on at the hip. All right, so we push down and we just hold this stretch period for a time, but we want to build up enough time so that we get some input. Holding it for 20 seconds and then calling it a day isn't enough. So let's play with the concept of getting at least 2 minutes of time under tension. So I hold this stretch for 2 minutes. After this 2-minute period of stretch, you want to build some isometrics in this region so you get the body adapted and the nervous system learning this is an okay range of motion. Because if it doesn't get to this range of motion, often it doesn't get enough input. So we hold it for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes elapse, we're going to build an isometric going up into the hand. So from here, I'm just pushing up like this into my hand, but I'm not moving because I'm just building an isometric. So I build up, I hold the isometric to my safest, greatest effort. So as an example, I'm pushing 50% of my effort, 80% of my effort, whatever you feel is good enough for you. You hold that for 10 seconds. After that 10-second contraction, now I'm just going to try to peel away from my knee for 10 seconds. I'm really trying to get my knee, mind-body connection to focus on getting my knee towards the ground. I'm pulling my knee towards the ground as hard as I can, holding that contraction for 10 seconds. After that, I relax, and now I'm in a new position. So if you started here, you held for 10 seconds, you held for 2 minutes, you pushed up for 10 seconds, you peeled away for 10 seconds, and now you're here. Now you apply that same concept to a new position of your leg. Because if you started here, and now you're here, you want to build more motion and more input. So then you can apply that same concept. 2-minute stretch, 10 seconds up, 10 seconds peeling away. After that, relax and you get in a new position. The concept is getting your leg further and further down by using a passive stretch of holding it into a period of time. And then after that passive stretch, you build those isometric contractions of pushing up and peeling away to then own that new range of motion. Now, if you do it 1 time a day, is it going to just all of a sudden be drastically better? No, but this concept repeated often and consistently can really start to get the body adapted to getting the leg further and further down. So first up is that one. You want to apply that concept, 2-minute stretch, 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down, and try to get at least 2 rounds of that entire sequence. 2-minute stretch, 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down. The next up is eccentric loading to the hip to ultimately improve the extensibility of the hip. The first exercise, we loosened up the window of our motion by doing some passive stretching and isometrics. Now we have to take the leg through a lengthening position because right now it's all flexed up and stiff. We opened it up, that's great, but now we have to put it through a range of motion under load. Now eccentrics are creating a contraction in a lengthening motion. So the concept of just going like this, we're gonna be using just our hand to push ourselves into the motion. I'm not just pushing my leg down like so, and not putting any effort through it. The idea is you wanna build force into the body to control this motion down. So as I go to push down, I'm resisting that motion with my leg. So I'm pushing up at the same time I'm pushing down, but I'm ultimately letting my hand win and push me down. But I'm doing it in a controlled fashion. I'm not just dropping my leg down, you're not getting any load through it. You wanna put force through it. So as I'm going to push down, I'm fighting my hand to push myself down. So this is creating an eccentric type of motion at my hip because I'm using all of my hip muscles to control that motion down. But the good thing is you get the input to the body to control it in a lengthening motion. When you get eccentric force into the body, it creates what's called sarcomeres in series. That literally makes the tissue longer, lengthens the tissue. So that's the idea to get more extensibility. So over here like this, I'm pushing down hard, but I'm also resisting this, and then I'm coming back up. So if you don't feel like your leg is working to do this, then you're doing it wrong. I'm trying to push my leg down. I'm ultimately letting myself win and do that, but I'm resisting throughout this. So you want to get enough force and effort through this so that your hip actually feels like it's working and getting tired through this. With this one, I like to get reps here, typically around 3 sets of 15 reps for eccentrics. Now the last one up for this 3-part series is working on activation into the new range of motion. So we started with isometric contractions with a passive stretch. We went into eccentrically loading that area. So we opened up the window, then we lengthened into that new range of motion. Now we have to teach the body how to keep that range of motion, how to keep that window of a new range open. So if we started here, after the first 2, we're probably most likely down a little bit. Now from here, you want to get a baseline of where you actually are in terms of the positioning. Now if you could push yourself further down, that's great because you want to work on your end range of position so that you work into that end range control to teach the body. So as an example, we're going to be working on liftoffs where we're peeling the knee away from the hand. But if you peel away and you're like this and there's a huge gap, you're not at your end range. So then you're gonna wanna push yourself further and further down, and then I try to peel away and now there's a minimal gap. Now I'm at my end range. That's where you wanna work. So you wanna get to that point, and then from here, you wanna have a good mind-body connection to use your glute muscles to peel the outside of your knee away from your hand towards the ground. So you're not just shifting your weight this way and letting it come away. You're thinking of using your glutes to pull your knee closer to the ground. So from here, I push down. Now I'm gonna think about using my glutes only to peel my knee away and then back down. So I feel only my glutes working to pull that down, and I'm coming back. So you want to pull away, you could hold for a second and then come back down. And you could hold for different variations. You could hold for 5 seconds, you could hold for 10 seconds. But if you want to get more reps, as an example, you could peel away, 1 second hold, come back down, and do 10 of them so that you get at least some input with each rep. So you peel away, come back down, peel away, come back down. Or you could peel away, hold, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, down. Peel away, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come back. The concept is getting the input into the system so whatever feels more challenging for you. If If you feel like you have more of an input and more challenge from holding for a duration of time, do that. If you're just getting started and you want to get the idea of the motion, do more just reps with a little bit of a hold. But the idea is to focus on using your glute muscles to control that motion throughout the activation phase. What you're doing here is creating that adaptation and teaching the body how to control the new ranges of motion. So to recap, we did 3 exercises to ultimately improve hip flexibility, really in crossing your leg. There was no equipment needed. Now with this, the idea of these 3 main exercises are to do them consistently and get volume to them. When you get more volume to the things that are gonna actually move the needle forward, that's where you start to make progress. The thing is though, I see time and time again, is you do something like this and you don't see results in a week and we just give up. When the body has adapted to positions over time, so to correct this issue, if you lack flexibility, it's gonna take over time to fix it. We can't get to 10 years of never working on flexibility and then think a week is gonna solve it. You gotta put in the work to get it done. That's how you improve it. Get volume to what's gonna help you. Not just give up if a week goes by and you don't see improvements, because improvements happen when we zoom out and we look at our overall picture and our overall progress. We just tend to focus in a moment of time. Doesn't look better day to day. It's not getting better. We gotta zoom out and look at the bigger picture when it comes to really training flexibility. So I really hope this gave you some insight and value and you learned some things and you put it into action and it really does help you. If this video did help you, I'd greatly appreciate it if you subscribe down below to my channel, leave any comments or questions down below, I'll get back to them. And until next time, this is Dr. Nick.